I'm a lifelong Southerner, married to an Indian man who grew up in South Africa during apartheid, and I am fiercely proud of both. If you don't like that, well, bless your heart. I'm Sheryl Parbhoo, and this is Southern Life, Indian Wife. Today, I'm joined by Momedian Heather Tolley-Bauer. Heather Tolley-Bauer is a drop-dead funny, stay-at-home mom, colon cancer survivor, and stand-up comedian. The first time I saw her on stage, I realized I really had to meet her and probably beg her to be my friend. Her comedy is for moms, women, and couples, and lets us escape everything from marriage, middle age, and millennials to parenting, Pintrest, and the PTA, and really anything else that keeps us awake at night. Heather brings her mom-com to packed shows all over Atlanta, select cities across the U.S., and to large organizations and companies. She's also the producer and host of the wildly popular sold-out show called Laugh Lines and Stretch Marks. And she's even appeared in season 4 of the Weather Channel's top-rated original program called Weather Gone Viral. Pretty amazing, right? Well, Heather's faced many challenges in life, not the least of which was getting diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 45. Now she's turning the page on what might have been described as a midlife crisis. And Heather talks with me about using comedy to deal with the tough stuff in life and how important it is for kids to see their mommies have bad days, and how she's using comedy to inspire other moms and survivors to inject just a little bit of laughter into their daily lives. So let's give a great big welcome to Heather Tolley-Bauer. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back to Southern Life, Indian Wife. I just have to tell you, last weekend, my husband and I went on a date night to a comedy show. It was kind of a date night. We had our adult son and his fiance with us, and that's kind of about all we get for date nights these days anymore. We don't get to be alone too much. But we went there to see Ryan Moot because I wanted to say hey, and completely blown away by the opening comedian. I just can't say enough about this woman, how funny she was, and how I was just taken by surprise by everything that she talked about in her set. And I'm so lucky to have her sitting here right next to me, Heather Tolley-Bauer.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for having me. Super excited.
So the next day I was like, I've got to get in touch with this lady.
I know that was just last weekend.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to make her my friend and I want her to be on my podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm so excited. And I wanted to talk to you because, we're both moms and we've both been through a lot. Everybody does. We all go through ups and downs.
Sure.
And your story is just incredibly interesting, unique, and inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so I just wanted to share that with the people that are listening, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are moms that question if they're doing the right thing for their kids, for themselves. And I think a lot of people can really benefit from hearing what you've been going through and how you have handled it and tackled it. So let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I think the biggest compliment anyone can ever give to another human being is to say that you've inspired me. Like you're inspiring. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, I mean, as you know, I start off every comedy set that I do setting up for the audience who I am and, what I'm all about. And so as you know, because you saw me perform, I am a 49-year-old stay-at-home alcoholic. That's my day job. And I'm killing it. And I say that I start off every set that way because moms can relate to it.
Right.
And because I want for people to understand that at 49 years old, I've lived a few chapters.
Right.
Right. And that although I am very fortunate to be able to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm not always fulfilled by being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years and it was not fun.
Yeah. There
were times that were good, but.
Well, And the way that I relate that to a younger audience, which most comedy shows, you're in front of a younger audience, is, I look at them and I say, oh, I know, like, some of you are looking at me like I'm your worst nightmare. But some of you are like, that's a sweet gig. How do I get that gig?
Yeah.
How do I get to be a stay-at-home, alcoholic? I'm like, just just work hard and marry well. That's how you get that. I did one of those things. I just married really well. But I think that being a mom, and of course my son is 10. So you have a lot to teach me. For sure.
Well, you can learn from my mistakes, not necessarily from any successes that I've had.
I think probably both.
Yeah.
I think both, because you got a lot of kids. Like, you got a boatload of children.
None of them are in jail, and none of them got pregnant when they were 15.
So see, that's a win. Yeah. That's a win. That is such a win. And right now at 10, my son's almost 11. We're in that Santa Claus Tooth Fairy Axe body spray.
Yes. We're there too with the 12-year-old.
Yeah. Axe body spray. Like, he believes in three things: Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and Axe body spray. And it's an interesting dynamic to be a stay-at-home mom who now leaves the house and tells jokes oftentimes at my family's expense. But I think it's super important for moms in particular, and women, to take the time to come out and go to a comedy show, and have that experience of listening to other moms, Momedians is what I call myself. Just kind of illuminate what keeps us up at night, and sort of just make fun of it a little bit, because not everything's funny.
Right.
Not everything's funny.
But if you can look at it through a lens with humor, I think that saves your sanity. That can save your life if you look at things not like you're going to slit your wrist over it.
Well, I hope so. I mean, my philosophy is, if we can, laugh at the small stuff, then we have the bandwidth for the tough stuff.
Right.
And we both have had tough stuff.
We sure
have.
And
everybody out there in my audience has had tough stuff.
Yeah. Everybody has their story. And, you're very honest about your journey, your story that has brought you to where you are today. So you want to share what exactly that is with the listeners, where you started and what made you go into comedy and tell jokes about what you do.
Yeah. So 5 years ago or so, 5 years ago, we moved from Connecticut to Georgia.
Was that a culture shock?
It was such a culture shock. It was and it wasn't.
Okay.
I expected it to be a particular way. Okay. I think I expected it to be a very stereotypical way. And because I would tell my Connecticut friends, I'm not blonde. I don't have, long hair. And so I would tell my Connecticut friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like latte drinking, yoga pant wearing,
saying, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. I kind of felt like, I don't know, I just had a particular female stereotype in mind. And I was like, and I would tell my friends, I'm bored with myself already, because I always had my own thing going on in Connecticut. I had my own business. I was a PR consultant, and then I came here and I knew I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And honestly, I was a little ticked off about it, and because my son was going to kindergarten, my husband's an executive, he got to do his thing. And, all of a sudden I'm in this brand new big house, polishing quartz countertops and stainless steel. And like, I'm going to suck in a tailpipe if I don't change something about this. It just wasn't,
you can admire tough. Your house for like a day. Oh, this is beautiful. Now what do I do?
Right. You can only watch so much HGTV, you know? And, so it was a little bit of a culture shock. And then I realized, once I kind of got over myself, I realized that where we live in Cobb County, Georgia, nobody's from Georgia.
Right.
People are from all over. So I was really exposed to a lot of different experiences, people who have a lot of different experiences and viewpoints. And I was really surprised. It sounds so stupid. I hear myself say it now and I'm like, oh God, I mean, get over yourself, Heather. But I've had really real women here, like really real, genuine people.
Not
here.
like what you were expecting.
Not at all.
Sorority girl, debutante, cheerleader.
Exactly. And there's that.
They are here. The former beauty queen, the Strawberry Festival watermelon
queen. The Vidalia onion queen, and
not to knock it.
No.
But that's not what we have in common with.
But so it was culture shock. But I've also found the most supportive women that know how to show up for you when you need them to show up. And in the time that we have lived here, I have needed my girl tribe to show up for me. And I'm not somebody who likes to ask for help.
Right.
I'm not somebody who likes to need help.
I don't either. That's hard.
But the truth is that when we moved here, I had just lost my mother-in-law, who was my best friend. I know that's people are like, really? But she was my very best friend. And she died from cancer. And while she was, from the time she was diagnosed to the time she died was just a few months.
Oh, that's awful.
And in that amount of time, we found out that we were leaving, Connecticut. My husband had been offered the job here. And we were building a house here while living in Connecticut.
Wow.
My husband was traveling for his job, but also to be with his mother as much as he could be. Our son was in pre-K. I had to get a house ready to be sold. And then in March, she passed away. And then in June, we moved here. And I was a hot mess.
Yeah, that's a lot going
It was
on.
a lot. I was a hot mess. And then, like I said, kind of, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was a little ticked off about it. I felt like I didn't have, you don't want to meet people and be like, I'm a hot mess. Be my friend.
Yeah, right. That's not that's not selling yourself very well with them.
Who wants that? I mean, we all have our baggage, right?
Yeah.
We all have our baggage. So about 6 months after living here for about 6 months, now it's January, and I was getting ready to turn 45.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, what do I want this new life to look like? And I said, well, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to do new experiences in this new place that I live, and I'm going to blog about it, because blogging was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Everybody blogs.
Now it's everyone podcasts, but and the first thing I did was I took a stand-up comedy class.
That is exciting.
It was a great class. It was a great experience. I've never just dreamed of being a stand-up comedian. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but my friends showed up for me, and came to my very first class, my very first performance, graduation class, for graduation performance. And they really encouraged me to stick with it.
That's awesome.
So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I took a few more classes, started hitting some open mics around town. And then I started to realize I, do my, what I call mom com, I make fun of parenting, Pintrest, and the PTA, and
there's a lot to make fun
there's
of.
a lot to make fun of,
material.
And millennials and marriage and mommyhood and middle age, and I mean, please, middle age. I can only hope. Who lives to be 98 years old? Now I'm 49 years old.
I know, right? I fear that is way over the middle.
I'm so far. I'm being generous when I say that I'm 40,
But hey,
I mean,
100 years ago, you would have been on your deathbed,
with
long gray hair and no teeth.
I don't know where I'd be, but but I know. So comedy was not my long-term plan, but a year into it, when I was, diagnosed with cancer, and then when I got through that, I was like, oh, there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to be funny. I call it being funny on purpose. And what I mean is being funny with a message.
Okay.
And sometimes that message, like what you saw the other night, sometimes that message is raising awareness for colon cancer, which is the cancer I had.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just assumes I had breast cancer.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Isn't that more common, or is it more common?
Well, I mean, I think, people just assume that you're a woman, you have breast cancer. Plus, these are just too spectacular.
They're too perfect.
They're too perfect to be, not to be fake, but they're real. They're real. People think that women don't get colon cancer, but we do. We get colon cancer as frequently as men do.
Okay. Well, that's good to know for everybody to be aware of that.
Yes. I say, if you have a colon, you can get colon cancer. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I go on stage and the purpose of my comedy is just to bring people a much needed laugh break.
Yes.
Especially women and moms and couples. There's nothing that makes you more present than laughing at a joke.
Yes.
Because if you're not present, you've missed the joke.
Right.
So you have to be paying attention. And so it just forces you to push everything else away. And there's all this data about what laughing does for your mind, your body, the endorphins that kicks in, the long-term health effects of just laughing, that you're really, really doing something good for yourself just by laughing. So sometimes, there doesn't have to be a message. I just have to make you laugh. And that's the gift, right?
Absolutely.
That's the gift.
Yeah. And you talk about all of these crazy mom things that we all go through. We can all relate to it. And it's great to get in front of someone who can laugh about it. And it helps you release all of this tension, because as a mom of 5, I know I've been through all of what you talk about with the kids and husband, and then some.
And then times 5.
Times 5. It's like a pressure cooker. So it's a great relief to be able to just laugh about it and know that you're not alone.
Yeah. And I mean, some of my favorite jokes, here's the thing about comedy is people who are watching comedy assume that what you're saying is the truth.
Right. It's like when you write a novel.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, that's true. Right.
No. But it could be true.
Yeah. You don't know.
And there is a version of truth in it. So it's an interesting thing to stand on stage and talk about how I've been married for almost 19 years now, 19 years very soon.
All right.
And how, we want to have, sex with each other. And we're still very hot for each other, and we're still very in love with each other. And we just, we want to have sex. We just don't.
Right.
That is true.
It is absolutely true. Well, it's true with everybody.
It's absolutely true. But some, some of the other things, around it, not necessarily true. And, and I forget that because, a lot of times my husband's in the audience, right? And so like he knows what's true and I know what's true. And then I realize like people around him are looking at him going, oh my gosh, she's talking about that, and that's kind of like, and you don't break the fourth wall, right? Like you don't say that's not true. Sometimes I say that, and because then I tag it with another joke, but yeah, I think, kind of this whole time, even when I kind of stuck to my mom-com lane before the cancer, I started having women come up to me and say, wow, I really needed that. Like, oh, me too. I needed that. I needed that laugh. And then I realized after my wacky diagnosis and how I was diagnosed was really bizarre. And basically, it really just boiled down to I put myself first. I didn't have symptoms of colon cancer. There was nothing wrong with me. I had a doctor who looked at my family history, who was a dermatologist of all people, who said, you know what, I really recommend you get your colonoscopy. And at 45 years old and no symptoms, I was like, right, let me get right on that.
Yeah, that's not too fun. You're not going to just jump into that.
No, because although there's nothing, the colonoscopy is not bad. It is a lengthy process. It is some prep involved. And as a busy mom, it's real easy to just say no to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to just say no. But he was really handsome, this doctor.
Don't you love those? My kids had an orthodontist that was so handsome. I was loving every appointment that they had.
He's still he saved my life, this guy. And so he's still my dermatologist. And he looks like a walking Ken doll. He is so handsome. And he called me and he was like, have you scheduled it yet? And I said, no. And he's like, I really want you to. And I was like, all right, because you're adorable. I'm going to. And no. And, really what happened was I said, my dad had died from colon cancer. And I said, you know what? If there's a chance that there could be something wrong, I owe it to my son.
Right.
Who at the time was 6 or 7 years old. I owe it to him because I got to do, I had him at 38 years old. I have to do whatever it is I have to do to see this kid grow up,
Absolutely.
and so lucky. I agreed, I agreed to do it. I found a doctor who didn't dismiss me, which is a very big thing.
That is a very big thing. Just because sometimes they'll look at you and say, oh, you're a woman. Oh, honey.
Yeah.
I hate that.
And my insurance company paid for it.
You're very lucky.
I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky because, they found the one polyp that they found was cancer.
Wow.
Just
because of your dermatologist saying, hey, you need to.
Because I had a dreamy dermatologist.
Yes. Fantastic.
What? We all have dermatologists in Cobb County, Georgia. It's the way the way it is. But yeah. And so after they found my cancer and, when they find that you just know that you have cancer, you don't know what the stage is. They have to remove everything to find out what the stage is. And I had to have 2/3 of my colon taken out.
Wow.
Which I know, as you know, I talk about that on stage. I'm like, that sounds dramatic, but you have way more colon than you actually need. Who knew?
Yeah, right. So that's a good thing.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And so I have 1/3 of my colon and I am I live a normal life. My quality of life is amazing,
totally
is fine. And I think that's another reason why I talk about that on stage in joke form, because there are people, and my mother is one of those people who 2 years ago was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, never had a mammogram, and she's a nurse, but she never had a mammogram because she didn't want to know.
Right. And
so I make that my responsibility to tell you that this is what I went through. And trust me, it wasn't bad.
Right.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah. But it's something that you need to do.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah. And you do owe it to your kid.
I do, because, after, once you went to a cancer patient, you have an oncologist and you see your oncologist, fairly frequently. And, I've had my oncologist and several other doctors tell me that, I'm lucky to be alive because by the time I would have had symptoms, it probably would have been too late. And by the time, if I would have waited until I was 50 to have that baseline colonoscopy, that was 5 years. And my oncologist said, Heather, you had 5 years to live. That was 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, that is crazy. And you're so very lucky that you had good insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you had a great doctor that was, pushing you. My brother passed away when he was 45 from an aneurysm. And he was, the picture of health. Never went to the doctor, didn't feel like he needed to.
Yeah.
But he had high blood pressure that no one knew about. So, of course, that gives me a high risk because it's a genetic trait that can, be in families. So I had to go and have this CTA scan of all of my arteries. My insurance didn't pay for it.
Wow.
It was, I think, $1,200.
Wow.
And luckily I'm able to do that. But someone that doesn't have those resources, the insurance companies really make it so hard to give yourself permission to get yourself to the doctor to have good health care.
Well, I have to be a little careful about what I talk about when it comes to insurance, because that's the industry that my husband is in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But, and I can tell you that there's enough responsibility to go around.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is.
Okay.
And
I think that's important for people to know too, because there is this opinion that we are all the victims. And,
yeah, right. And, the big bad, insurers, but, listen, affordable healthcare is a big problem.
Yes,
for sure. And for sure, because now I know that I carry a gene that is it's an underdiagnosed gene. It used to be considered rare. It's not really considered rare anymore, called Lynch syndrome.
Okay.
We're like 1 in 217, don't quote me on that, but it's like something around that. 1 in 217 people have this gene and they don't know it.
Wow.
And it really starts with the cancer that you are at the highest risk for is colon cancer. And, check that off my done.
Lucky you.
Skin cancer is another one. Check that. I've had that. Had a complete total hysterectomy so that I wouldn't get that cancer 3 months after I had my colon taken out. And now I do the other cancers that I'm at higher risk for are kidney, pancreatic, brain cancer, and kind of anything that they've just added breast cancer to that. And then last year I had bile duct cancer.
Wow.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
But so it's like, I been so focused on my pancreas and my kidneys because those aren't fun cancers to have. Not only that, but I can't think of any jokes. But jokes are hilarious. Kidney jokes, I don't have any. Kidney cancer, I don't have any jokes about that because that's not a very funny organ.
Right.
But so last August I had just a little bit of bile duct cancer and had to have 6 procedures to be done with that. And it wasn't a big deal. It was all done, endoscopically, but it's 6 times I have to be put under.
Yeah. And
6 times I have to,
thinking
be
about
prepared for, between August and January of this year. So I definitely know that how long I live is directly related to how good my healthcare is.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And that's a sobering point. That's just knowing that is it's humbling, it's sobering. And it's something that, I hope to get more involved in helping people have access to.
Sure. And do you feel like it's something that also has made you reevaluate life and live in the moment?
Well, I've lived a little bit too much in the moment. Yeah. I mean, I don't know which came first, the diagnosis or my midlife crisis. I mean, I think it all happened at the same time. Yeah. So I don't know which one was which, but it definitely made me take on this mantra of life's short, eat the cupcake. And then, 3 years later, I'm still eating the cupcake. I'm like, I got to quit eating the cupcake, It's
kind of like I was when I was pregnant. Oh, I'm eating for 2. So let me just keep doing that for 5 years.
Exactly. Because that's a hard habit to break,
it is.
But I mean, and also I kind of had this mantra of I'm not doing anything that sucks because going to all these screenings and tests and blah, 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 MRI, CT scan, it's a part-time job for me.
Wow.
And so I'm like, some days my day-to-day sucks. So I'm not going to go, should I run that 5K? Yeah. Can I? Probably. Am I gonna? Absolutely not. Because why? I'm not doing anything that sucks.
Right. And there's cupcakes right there.
And there are cupcakes right there. And so I sort of had to figure out the balance, right? I had to figure out the what works for me. And finally I was like, you know what? I had an aha moment and I said, wow, I could live another 20 years with this. I could live 2 years with it. I don't know, no, none of us know.
Right.
Right. But I have something on paper that says I really don't know. And that's a really weird place to be. And I was like, you know what, if I live the next 20 years as though life's short, I'm probably going to die from cancer. And then I don't, I'm going to be really mad. Like I'm going to be like, really?
Yeah.
That's 20 years worth of cupcakes.
Yes,
that's
that
20,
is.
That's 20 years worth of cupcakes that I should not be having.
Right.
So it's kind of this year was sort of my year to be like, okay, so far so good.
Yeah.
Let's keep our heads screwed on straight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about this a little differently.
Right.
So now, I'm doing, I'm making more disciplined choices.
Okay.
Let's just call it that.
Yes, call it that. More discipline.
I'm still having fun.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
And you can run the marathon or the 5K or around the block, but you don't have to do it every day. You don't even have to do it every week.
No, I don't even have to do it so hard that I don't want to do it tomorrow.
Right.
Who
wants to do anything like that?
No. And I cannot do the marathon.
No, I never could.
No.
I know someone who does the Ironman.
Yeah, no.
Oh, God, no.
See, that falls under, I don't need to do anything that sucks.
Yeah. And to me, I don't care what your mindset is. That sucks.
That's going to suck. I don't care how disciplined and trained you are. That is going to suck.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that.
But I think that it's really great that you're setting this example for your son. Now, I know a lot of the things that I went through, I feel like, I showed my ass to my kids sometimes. I would be going through terrible things. We had teenagers. I had a hard time in my marriage and I had 5 kids and,
Right.
All of these things going on at once. And I was not always the best to them. They saw me cry. They saw my good times and they saw how I either handled it poorly
Mm-hmm.
or how I did handle it. And I was honest about the good and the bad. And I'm hoping that they are going to be better people for it. So do you feel like in a weird way, this is good for your son to see?
I do.
How you cope?
I absolutely do. I think that it's important. Again, my son's 10 and I was just telling you before we got started, I remember a moment when my son was much younger and I don't know, he and I are very similar. Like he looks just like my husband, but when he opens up his mouth, he's all me. And because I'm home with them, it's like, we are like this. Like we are so close, like oddly connected. Like we know what the other person's thinking, but we also butt heads all the time.
Yeah. That sounds like me and my son.
So you get it. And, I say he's my difficult child. He's my only child. So he's like he's my sweet one. He's my smart one.
Right.
He's my difficult, but at the end of the day, it's because we're very much alike. And, one day, I don't know, he was just really giving me a hard time about something. And I looked at him and I said, Reed, mommies get their feelings hurt too.
Mm.
And even his little, I don't know, first, second grade brain, it was like a moment. He was like, it was like an illumifying moment for him that he was like, really? I never thought about that because they don't see us as people.
Right.
And I think that, they need to see us.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see that things are hard.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see that people can be resilient. They need to see that mommies, have bad days, and that we work through it and that we come out on the other side of it, because I have definitely known people that don't show their flaws to their children or share their challenges, and everything has to be appropriate. Right. And that's for you to decide. But as far as my diagnosis goes, this gene that I have, my son could have it. He has a 50-50 chance of having it. And we're very honest about that. Mm-hmm. And we're very honest about, I have to have another procedure and, what's going to happen and what are they looking for and how am I, and what's the diagnosis and what's the prognosis. And, but he also sees us in my husband and I in our marriage have a fight, bicker, he heard me say a swear word a time or two, he has seen me lose my mind over something. And I think that I do believe that down the road, he's going to be like, oh yeah, my mom was not. Listen, they're all going to end up in therapy. Come
Absolutely.
on. They're all going to end up in therapy.
It's just pick your poison. What it is,
what
it's going to be.
I think my kid's story is going to be, oh, my parents laughed all the time and they told me I could be anything. And they provided me with all my basic needs and most of what I wanted, but in a realistic kind of way. I mean, the therapist is going to be like, okay, move on,
For sure.
You're like, how's that make you feel? And of course, in my house, we handle most things with laughter.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what saves people's lives, don't you?
That is how we really, and we know not everything's LOL. Mm-hmm. We get that. But our go-to is to just take a step back. Oh my gosh, what did he say to me the other day? And it was so funny. Oh, he said, I have depression, anxiety. I mean, what?
Hey, me too.
What? I've been, treated for that for years and years. What comic / mom / human being do you know?
Exactly.
And so some days, some days my medication's working better than others, and some days I'm on top of my game and some days I'm not. And then you throw in my hormones have left the building, and then you throw in, this diagnosis that I have, and I never know like what's driving it, but doesn't matter. I have ups and I have downs, and some days I'm really moody. And one day I picked up my son and I was really moody. And he is obsessed with these Strange But True books.
Okay.
Like crazy fun facts about, whatever. It would take, I don't know how many bajillion golf balls to fill up the state of Rhode Island. And, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And if you put 50,000 together, you get a whatever. And because we're oddly connected, he knew I was having one of my days, right? And he goes, wow, I guess it's true what I read in my Weird But True book, that statistically speaking, most people are cranky on a Thursday. And it was a Thursday. And I looked at him and I go, wow, Reed, bold move, pointing that out to somebody who's cranky on a Thursday. And real bold move. And he says, yeah, I know. That really could have gone either way.
And he's 10 years old. Oh my gosh.
I go, bold move, pal. Bold move. He's like, I know. And then he says, I'm surprised I'm still standing, and then
that's awesome.
We just, and then we laugh, we laughed about it, and I'm still cranky, but instead of like flipping out over it, or whatever, we just, he
knows how to kind of,
he gets me.
Yeah, he knows how to kind of turn it around for you. That's great.
He gets me for sure. But
and I think that's one of the beauties of having just that one child. He's your good child, your bad child, all in one.
He's my every.
Yeah, because I have an only child, yet I have 5 kids. And my older 4 saw the absolute crazy in me. And I wasn't able to do that because I'd have, 2 going into the swimming pool at the same time in opposite directions.
Right.
And then a teenager and a middle schooler. And it was just crazy. So no way to really relate to them.
Well, I have the luxury of a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Meaning that he gets our undivided attention. Either it is the 2 of us, or it is he and his father, or it is the 3 of us. But
it's like that with us, with our youngest too.
He gets a lot of, I always say, for anybody who wants to say, oh, only children, we have nothing better to do but to be all up in his business. So we are very hard on him.
And that's okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
We hold him to a very high standard. For sure. But we also have a lot of fun.
Yes, you have. It's a great opportunity to have just that one kid.
It is. And I hope that what we're teaching him, as well as, my husband and I are madly in love with each other.
Aww.
We are.
Almost 19 years. That is
We've been together almost 23 years.
Wow.
And we have been together all of my husband's adult life.
Wow. Okay.
And
did you rob the cradle?
I did. I am the original cougar. I am. He's 5 years younger than I am.
Woohoo.
But I know. What was I thinking? But and on paper, we should not work.
Right.
But we totally work.
Yeah. Same with my husband and I.
We totally work. We totally work. And I hope that our son is also seeing a marriage where we're partners, where I don't think he would describe me as a stay-at-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think he would just say, no, my mom was always doing something. You know, I think he thinks of me as a comic. I think he thinks that my job is being a stand-up comic. But also he sees us deal with each other with respect, with a lot of love, a lot of laughs, because laughter as a life skill is so important. It diffuses situations. It builds self-esteem. And sometimes I go and talk to third graders about what's funny and what's not funny. And like funny is making somebody feel good about themselves when they leave your presence.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't get to just say anything you want and then say, I'm just joking.
Right. Yeah. Making fun of them and going, oh yeah. Oh,
I'm just kidding. Yeah. You know, that's not funny. That's not humor.
That's a really good differentiation for you to make for them, because if they don't have that example at home, they don't know that.
Right.
Innately. So I love that.
Yeah. And so, so I hope that my son is learning, you know, how to be kind, compassionate, how to relate to people, and how to use humor as a life skill, because God knows it has gotten me through, you know, this stuff that my diagnosis and my continued diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky I have a platform in which to share all that.
Yes.
That is resonating with others.
Right. That is the amazing thing. So you're doing this, you know, for yourself, for your son, for your husband, and you're giving so much to the people that see you on stage or hear you on a podcast or probably even run into you at the grocery store.
Yeah, pretty much. What you see on stage is who I am in real life.
And that's just amazing. That's so genuine. And people really get a lot from that.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what's coming up next for you? Do you have more shows going on? Do you have any ventures coming up?
I do. So every month, I just had one last night. I do a show called Laugh Lines and Stretch Marks. Okay. That is my baby. That is my brand. That is my everything.
Is that at Mad Life every month? It
is at Mad Life here in Georgia. That's its home theater, is at Mad Life Stage and Studios in Woodstock. Okay. And it is mostly an all-female lineup of comics, women from diverse backgrounds with diverse stories to tell. And so it's comedy for moms, women, and couples. Awesome. I've been doing that for a little over a year now, and it has been a wildly popular show.
Yeah,
and
I tried to get there last night, but because I'm a mom, my dog chewed up my kid's shoes.
That's not okay.
No. And so, but what am I going to do? I got to go buy my kids some shoes. And
gotta have shoes.
Didn't get to go.
Well, luckily for you, we do this every month.
Yay.
And it is such a great show. And so I perform all over the place, and I have another show that I run every week in Roswell at the Gaslight. If anybody is in the Roswell, Georgia area, I do that every Wednesday. But and then I get booked to do other people's shows. But really, my baby is Laugh Lines and Stretch Marks, and I am really just working on putting that together as a package to take it on tour.
Oh, awesome.
So that I can bring my mom-com to other suburbs.
Oh, I would love that. Well, if you do get to that point, I will definitely put it all out there to all of my followers and all of my people, because that's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Super excited about it. Yeah.
Yay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate you coming here and talking to me. And I know when I first saw you, I wanted you to be on the show, and I really wanted you to be my friend. So I hope we'll still be friends after this.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. What a fun time. Thank you.
Best of luck to you. If you like this podcast so far, Please continue following along by tapping the subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. If you really liked it, go on, be awesome, and leave a rating and a review. Find me on all social media too by searching Sheryl with an S, Parbhoo, that's Parbhoo. Thanks for listening to Southern Life, Indian Wife.
Celebrate Venus Fashion Week and discover the new fall fashion collection at Venus. Today only, get totally free shipping off your entire order when you use the promo code DENIM. Just go to Venus.com and save during Venus Fashion Week.